No one prepares a man for what love will take from him. They tell you how to win her. They never tell you what you lose when you forget yourself. Every man enters love believing he will be different, more patient, more giving, more understanding. And slowly, without noticing, he trades strength for comfort, boundaries for approval, and direction for attachment. Then one day, she's gone. Not in anger. Not with drama. Just absence. And only then do the lessons begin. These are not theories. They are scars. 7 truths about love that men do not learn from success, but from loss. Lessons paid for with silence, regret, and long nights alone, the kind that strip illusions and leave only honesty behind. If you are watching this while hurting, understand this. This pain is not random. Stay with me. By the end of this video, you won't just understand why you lost her. You'll understand what kind of man you must become so it never happens again. Welcome to the channel, Stoic Love Wisdom. This is where you will find valuable lessons and tips to help you build a truly lasting love. In today's video, we will explore 7 valuable lessons about love that men only understand after losing them, with real stories and insight. Don't miss the advice that can change the way you perceive and live in love. You will definitely feel more comfortable when you find a quiet place and put on your headphones. Let yourself relax and be ready to receive the positive messages in today's video. Are you ready to start this journey? Let's start together. Lesson number 1, loving too much can kill attraction. I didn't learn this lesson from books. I learned it the hard way, by losing someone I loved deeply. When I was younger, I believed love was about giving more. More time. More attention. More sacrifice. More availability. I thought if I loved hard enough, consistently enough, selflessly enough, she would stay. She didn't. And it took years for me to understand why. The truth is uncomfortable, especially for men who love honestly. Loving too much doesn't strengthen attraction. It often destroys it. Not because love is wrong, but because losing yourself is. At first, everything felt right. I had my own life, my own goals, my own rhythm. She was an addition, not the center. And that was exactly why she was drawn to me. I was grounded. Calm. Purpose-driven. I didn't need her to feel complete. But slowly, without noticing, I began to shift. My schedule bent around hers. My mood depended on her replies. My decisions were filtered through one question: how will this affect us? I thought this was commitment. In reality, it was self-erasure. Stoic philosophy teaches us something brutal but liberating. Anything you place above your own virtue and purpose will eventually control you. When you make a woman the emotional center of your life, you hand her power she never asked for, and cannot respect. Attraction is not built on need. It is built on presence, strength, and self-mastery. The moment I started needing her validation, her reassurance, her constant closeness, something shifted. She didn't say it out loud, but I could feel it. The respect thinned. The mystery faded. The polarity disappeared. I was always there. Always available. Always ready to explain, fix, adjust. And what is always available is rarely valued. A Stoic man understands this. You cannot abandon yourself and expect someone else to admire you. Love is not proven by how much you give up. It is revealed by how much you remain yourself while giving. I learned that women don't fall in love with men who orbit them. They fall in love with men who are rooted in something deeper: purpose, discipline, direction. When you love too much, you stop being a man walking his path, and start being a man asking for permission to walk beside hers. And no one is attracted to permission. This doesn't mean you become cold. It doesn't mean you withhold affection as a tactic. It means you understand that love without boundaries becomes desperation, even if it wears the mask of kindness. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a man should never become a slave to what is outside his control. Another person's feelings are outside your control. The Stoic approach to love is simple, but not easy. You give affection freely, but you do not give up your center. You care deeply, but you do not cling. You love fully, but you remain whole. Looking back, losing her was the price of learning this truth. If I could speak to my younger self, I would say this. Love her, yes. But never more than you love your own integrity. Because the strongest attraction a man can have is not his words, his effort, or his sacrifice. It is his self-respect. And the moment you stop abandoning yourself for love, you don't just become more attractive. You become unbreakable. Lesson number 2, sacrifice without boundaries breeds disrespect. There is a lie many men are taught early in life. A lie that sounds noble, generous, even masculine. If you sacrifice enough, she will see your value. I believed that lie for a long time. I gave up my time, my comfort, my priorities, sometimes even my principles. Not because she demanded it, but because I thought love required it. What I didn't understand then is this. Sacrifice without boundaries is not love. It is self-neglect. And self-neglect never earns respect. At first, sacrifice looks admirable. You show up. You compromise. You put her needs first. She appreciates it, briefly. But appreciation is not the same as attraction, and it is certainly not the same as respect. Respect is built on limits. Stoicism teaches that a man must govern himself before he attempts to share his life with another. When you remove your own boundaries, you communicate something without saying a word. My needs are less important than yours. That message slowly corrodes the dynamic. I remember the exact moment things changed, though I didn't realize it then. I canceled something important to me, again, because she was upset. Not because it was an emergency. Not because she asked. But because I didn't want conflict. I told myself I was being mature. In reality, I was teaching her that my time was flexible, my word was negotiable, and my backbone was optional. From that moment on, the balance shifted. She became more demanding. I became more accommodating. She expected. I adjusted. This is the silent danger of unbounded sacrifice. People adapt to the version of you that accepts less. A Stoic man understands a hard truth. Every time you betray yourself to keep someone else comfortable, you lose a piece of your authority. And authority, calm, grounded authority, is deeply attractive. Women don't lose respect because a man gives. They lose respect because a man gives at the cost of himself. Boundaries are not walls. They are standards. They say, this is where I end, and you begin. They say, I will meet you halfway, not erase myself to reach you. When you lack boundaries, your sacrifice stops being a gift and becomes an expectation. And what is expected is no longer valued. The Stoics warned against this centuries ago. If you place your worth in how others feel about you, you will always be their servant. I learned that love does not require endless accommodation. It requires mutual respect. Respect is born when a woman sees that you will say no, calmly, firmly, without guilt, when something violates your values or drains your energy. Not angrily. Not defensively. But with quiet certainty. A man with boundaries does not argue excessively. He does not over-explain. He does not justify his existence. He simply stands where he stands. Ironically, when I stopped sacrificing everything, I became more generous. Because what I gave came from choice, not fear. From strength, not insecurity. I stopped trying to earn love through exhaustion. And here is the lesson that cost me a relationship to learn. If she only feels secure when you are losing yourself, the relationship is already broken. Love that demands self-betrayal is not love, it is dependence wearing a romantic mask. The Stoic path in love is not cold or cruel. It is honest. You give what you can without resentment. You refuse what costs your integrity. And you accept that anyone who loses respect for you because you have boundaries was never truly aligned with you. The man who respects himself teaches others how to treat him. Without lectures, without ultimatums. Just by how he lives. In love, sometimes we don't need too many promises, but just a little understanding and a heart that knows how to listen. It is the experiences, both happy and sad, that help us mature and know how to love more fully. Here, I want to contemplate those things with you, so that each step in the journey of love becomes more clear-headed and peaceful. If you feel that what I share is valuable, please click like to support this video. And if this is your first visit, please click subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so you don't miss the next insightful perspectives on love. I also really want to hear from you. What do you like most about today's story? Leave a comment below, because who knows, your experience might be a great source of encouragement for someone else who is listening. And now, let's continue to explore what's waiting for you. Lesson number 3, she does not love your potential, only your present strength. This lesson hurts because it shatters a comforting illusion. Most men believe they are loved for who they will become. For their dreams. Their intentions. Their promises of a better future. I believe that too. I thought if she could just see where I was headed, she would be patient. That my ambition, my plans, my vision would compensate for what I lacked now. It doesn't. A woman does not fall in love with potential. She responds to presence. Stoicism teaches us to live in accordance with reality, not fantasy. And the reality is this: love is grounded in what you are demonstrating today, not what you are imagining tomorrow. I spoke often about my goals. I painted a future with confidence. I described the man I was becoming. But my daily discipline didn't match my words. My emotional stability wavered. My direction wasn't yet solid. She listened. She nodded. She hoped. But hope is not attraction. Attraction is felt, not promised. A Stoic man understands that strength is not a future event, it is a current state of being. Calm under pressure. Consistency in action. Responsibility without complaint. When those are missing, no amount of vision can replace them. I noticed it slowly. Her questions changed. Where is this going? When will things change? What are you actually doing about it? Those questions were not attacks. They were signals. She wasn't doubting my character. She was doubting my grounding. Men often confuse belief in themselves with evidence of competence. But belief without structure becomes noise. The Stoics warned against this kind of self-deception. Epictetus said we must not talk about philosophy, but live it. The same applies to masculinity and love. Do not talk about becoming strong. Be strong. Do not speak endlessly about the man you will be. Demonstrate the man you are. Women sense inconsistency faster than men admit. They feel when words run ahead of reality. And when that gap widens, attraction erodes, not because she is cruel, but because her nervous system no longer feels secure. Security is not money alone. It is emotional and directional stability. When a man is rooted, even if he is still building, his presence is solid. When he is floating between plans, excuses, and emotional volatility, no vision can save him. I learned that potential only matters when it is already in motion. A man who trains every day is attractive. A man who talks about training someday is not. A man who takes responsibility for his failures is attractive. A man who explains them endlessly is not. Stoicism reminds us that excuses weaken the soul. And a weakened soul cannot lead, in life or in love. This lesson forced me to stop selling the future and start embodying the present. I stopped convincing. I stopped explaining. I started doing. And something remarkable happened. I became calmer. Less reactive. Less desperate to be understood. I didn't need her belief anymore, because I had my own structure. Whether she stayed or left became secondary. That is the paradox most men only understand after loss. When you stop needing her faith in your potential, you finally become worthy of respect. If a woman leaves because you are not yet the man you say you will be, she is not betraying you. She is responding to reality. The Stoic response is not resentment, it is responsibility. Build quietly. Stabilize your life. Align your actions with your words. Because the man who lives in truth does not beg for patience. He becomes undeniable. Lesson number 4, silence is often more powerful than chasing. Most men are taught that when something begins to slip away, you run after it. You explain. You reassure. You send long messages trying to fix what you feel breaking. I did all of that. And every time I chased, I lost more ground. What I didn't understand then is a core Stoic principle. You cannot control another person's feelings, only your own conduct. Chasing is the illusion of control. When a woman pulls back, the instinct to pursue comes from fear, not love. Fear of loss. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of sitting alone with uncertainty. But fear has a voice, and it speaks too loudly. The more I explained, the more I justified, the more I tried to save the connection, the weaker my position became. Not because I was wrong, but because I was signaling emotional dependence. Silence, on the other hand, comes from self-command. Stoicism does not teach avoidance. It teaches restraint. There is a crucial difference. Silence is not punishment. It is not manipulation. It is not a tactic to make someone miss you. Silence is the refusal to abandon your dignity in moments of emotional chaos. I remember the first time I chose not to chase. It felt unnatural. My mind raced with worst-case scenarios. I wanted to clarify everything. To defend my intentions. To explain my heart. But I stayed quiet. Not cold. Not angry. Just still. And for the first time, I noticed something important. The noise was never helping. When you chase, you flood the space with your anxiety. When you stay silent, you allow reality to speak. Women are highly sensitive to emotional pressure. The more you press, the more they retreat. The more you demand clarity, the more uncertain they feel. Silence removes pressure. It communicates strength without words. It says, I am steady, whether you stay or go. A Stoic man understands that presence does not require constant expression. He does not narrate his worth. He embodies it. There is a dignity in not reacting immediately. In allowing emotions to pass before responding. In choosing timing over impulse. Chasing says, I need this to be okay. Silence says, I will be okay regardless. And that difference is felt deeply. I learned that silence gives her space to feel. To reflect. To notice the absence without being chased by explanations. Sometimes, she returned with clarity. Sometimes, she didn't. But in both cases, I kept my self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of any healthy dynamic. The Stoics taught that a man should never beg for what must be freely given. Love included. If someone needs convincing, the answer is already no. Silence also teaches you something brutal but necessary. Not every connection is meant to be saved. When you stop chasing, you stop interfering with truth. If she comes back, it is because she chooses to, not because you wore her down. If she doesn't, you avoid humiliating yourself trying to resurrect something already gone. This lesson was painful because it required trust in myself. Trust that I could sit with discomfort. Trust that my value did not depend on immediate reassurance. Trust that walking away with dignity was better than staying through desperation. Silence is not absence. It is composure. And composure is magnetic. In the end, I realized this. The man who can remain calm when emotions are high is the man who leads, even in love. And leadership, quiet and grounded, is what attraction responds to most. Love is actually like a mirror reflecting the inner self. When we are calm enough, we will realize that every challenge, every silence carries a valuable lesson. And that is what I want to convey through each story on this channel. If you feel that these shares bring value, please leave a like to support the channel. And don't forget to subscribe, because who knows, one day, just a small idea from these videos can change the way you look at love, at yourself. Let's continue with me, because there are many interesting things waiting for you to discover. Lesson number 5, love cannot fix a man who has no direction. This is one of the hardest truths a man can accept. Not because it is cruel, but because it removes every comfortable excuse. I once believed love could save me. That being loved would motivate me. That her presence would give me clarity. That together, we would figure things out. We didn't. Love does not create direction. It reveals the absence of it. Stoicism teaches that a man must first order his own life before inviting someone else into it. When you are drifting, love doesn't anchor you, it exposes your instability. I didn't lack intelligence or desire. I lacked structure. My days were inconsistent. My discipline was negotiable. My purpose shifted with my mood. And I didn't see how heavy that was for her. A woman can walk beside a man who is building. But she cannot carry a man who is lost. Men often confuse emotional support with leadership. They believe being open, vulnerable, and affectionate is enough. It isn't. Leadership is not dominance. It is direction. When a man has no clear path, the relationship becomes his refuge instead of his companion. He leans on her emotionally, subconsciously asking her to stabilize what he has not yet built within himself. That weight grows quietly. At first, she encourages. Then she suggests. Then she worries. Eventually, she resents. Not because she is heartless, but because she never signed up to be your compass. The Stoics were clear. If you cannot govern yourself, you will become dependent on others to do it for you. Love cannot compensate for lack of discipline. Affection cannot replace purpose. Intimacy cannot give meaning to an unstructured life. I noticed it when conversations stopped being playful and became managerial. Have you thought about? What's your plan for? When are you going to? She wasn't nagging. She was searching for stability. And every time I answered vaguely, I lost a little more ground. Direction is attractive because it signals safety, not physical safety alone, but existential safety. It tells a woman that you are moving forward, even if the road is difficult. A Stoic man does not promise clarity. He practices it. He doesn't outsource his motivation to love. He builds his discipline whether he is loved or alone. This lesson came after loss, when the silence was loud enough to force honesty. I realized that I had been asking love to fix what only responsibility could. So I changed. Not dramatically. Not publicly. Quietly. I set non-negotiable routines. I reduced chaos. I stopped waiting for inspiration. And something shifted inside me. I became steadier. Less reactive. Less needy. Ironically, when I no longer needed love to complete me, I became capable of offering it without burden. Here is the truth most men resist. A relationship amplifies who you already are. It does not transform you. If you are undisciplined, it amplifies disorder. If you are aimless, it magnifies confusion. If you are grounded, it deepens connection. The Stoic path in love begins before love. It begins with a man waking up each day knowing what must be done, regardless of who is watching, who is staying, or who has left. Because a man with direction does not cling. He invites. And that invitation is only compelling when it comes from a place of inner order. Lesson number 6, her feelings change faster than you think. This lesson is not about blame. It is about understanding reality without bitterness. Many men believe love is stable once it is earned. That if she once felt deeply, those feelings will remain, as long as you don't betray her. That belief cost me years. A woman's feelings are not a contract. They are a response. Stoicism teaches us to accept the nature of things, not argue with them. And the nature of emotion is movement. I remember the confusion more than the pain. Nothing dramatic happened. No betrayal. No explosion. Just distance. Her laughter softened. Her touch became brief. Her questions disappeared. And I kept telling myself, she loves me. This is just a phase. But phases become patterns when ignored. Men struggle with this lesson because we value consistency. We love in straight lines. We commit and assume stability. When her feelings shift, it feels unjust. But attraction is not governed by fairness. It is governed by experience. Feelings grow when the experience with you is emotionally stimulating, safe, and aligned. They fade when that experience becomes heavy, predictable, or draining. Not evil. Not personal. Just human. A Stoic man does not cling to how things were. He observes how things are. When I finally stopped denying the shift, I saw my own role clearly. I had grown complacent. Less present. Less grounded. I relied on past intimacy to carry present weakness. That never works. Attraction requires ongoing presence, not constant effort, but consistent energy. The mistake men make is trying to lock emotions in place. They seek reassurance, labels, promises. But emotions cannot be negotiated into permanence. The Stoics remind us. You do not own what can leave. You experience it while it is given. This understanding is painful at first, but it creates freedom. When you accept that her feelings can change, you stop building your identity on them. You stop panicking when the tone shifts. You stop chasing yesterday's version of her. You become calmer. And calm is powerful. A man who remains centered when emotions fluctuate becomes the emotional anchor, not by controlling, but by not collapsing. When I stopped reacting to every change in her mood, something unexpected happened. I regained clarity. I stopped asking, how do I get her feelings back? And started asking, am I living in a way that generates respect, with or without her? That question changed everything. Sometimes, feelings return. Sometimes, they don't. But the Stoic man does not measure his worth by the outcome. He understands that love is not maintained by fear of loss, but by presence of self. Here is the lesson most men learn too late. If you need her feelings to remain the same for you to feel stable, you were never stable to begin with. Emotional resilience is attractive because it removes pressure. It allows love to breathe. And if it leaves, you stand. Not bitter. Not resentful. Just grounded. Because you were never meant to be sustained by someone else's emotions. Lesson number 7, losing her was the price of becoming a man. No one tells you this while you're in love. They tell you to fight. To hold on. To never give up. But sometimes, the loss is the lesson. I didn't become a stronger man while she was with me. I became one after she left. At first, the loss felt like failure. Like I had ruined something valuable. Like I wasn't enough. And for a long time, I tried to make sense of it in ways that protected my ego. Blame her. Blame timing. Blame circumstances. But Stoicism does not allow comfortable lies. It demands truth. And the truth was simple and painful. I was not yet the man I needed to be. Losing her stripped away distraction. No more messages to wait for. No more emotional noise. Just silence. And in that silence, I was forced to face myself. The Stoics believe that adversity reveals character. Not creates it, reveals it. Loss exposes the cracks you've been avoiding. I saw mine clearly. My lack of discipline. My emotional dependence. My need for validation. My fear of being alone. She didn't cause those weaknesses. She revealed them. This is the part most men resist. Sometimes a woman leaves not to punish you, but to free you from a version of yourself that was never sustainable. Pain is not random. It is instructive. But only if you stop numbing it. I could have drowned the loss in distraction, another relationship, endless entertainment, shallow pleasure. Many men do. Instead, I sat with it. And slowly, something shifted. The absence that once felt like emptiness became space. Space to build. Space to strengthen. Space to decide who I would become without needing to be chosen. I stopped asking, why wasn't I enough? And started asking, what must I become so that I never abandon myself again? That question changed my life. Stoicism teaches that a man's worth is not measured by who stays, but by who he becomes under pressure. Losing her forced me to develop self-command. To build routines. To train my body and mind. To create a life that did not collapse when someone walked away. Ironically, this is what I needed before love, not after. But some lessons arrive late. And they are expensive. Here is the final truth of this series. If you do not learn from the loss, you will repeat it with someone else. The woman may change. The pattern will not. Until you do. Losing her was not the end of my story. It was the end of my illusions. And that ending was necessary. Because the man who emerges from loss with clarity no longer chases, begs, or fears abandonment. He chooses. He loves without attachment. He commits without dependence. He stands complete, whether alone or partnered. If you are watching this while in pain, understand this. This loss is not here to destroy you. It is here to refine you. But only if you are willing to let the old version of yourself die with the relationship. Some men lose women and grow bitter. Others lose women and grow strong. The difference is responsibility. Take it. And you will realize one day, quietly, without anger, that losing her was the price of becoming a man who never loses himself again. Conclusion. These lessons are not meant to make you cynical about love. They are meant to make you clear. Love does not fail men, illusion does. Most men do not lose women because they are unlovable. They lose them because they lose themselves first. Through loss, love reveals what comfort hides. Your boundaries, your discipline, your emotional strength, and your relationship with yourself. Stoicism teaches that pain is not an enemy to escape, but a teacher to listen to. And in love, pain often arrives to correct imbalance, to show a man where he surrendered his center, his purpose, or his self-respect. These 7 lessons point to one truth. Love works best when it is not used as a foundation, but as a complement. When a man builds his life first, his character, his direction, his inner stability, love becomes an expression of abundance, not a desperate need. You stop chasing. You stop overgiving. You stop negotiating your worth. And when love comes, it stays by choice, not obligation. If it leaves, you remain whole. That is the Stoic ideal in love, not emotional coldness, but emotional sovereignty. To love deeply without attachment. To commit without losing yourself. To accept impermanence without fear. Loss, when understood, does not harden a man. It sharpens him. And the man who learns these lessons does not walk away bitter. He walks forward disciplined, calm, and unshaken, capable of love, but never dependent on it. Because the strongest position a man can hold in love is not possession, but self-mastery. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. Hopefully the sharing about love and lessons from this video will help you have new thoughts and find empathy. If you find the video useful, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel and share with those around you. Each of us has our own stories about love, and I'm happy to explore them with you. See you in the next videos. Wishing you a wonderful day filled with love.